So here's the bits. As you can see, that spins freely enough. And there's the bend. And it's taking considerable force to bend that, as we'll have a look in a minute. And that is the stay bracket. And you see how much that's bent as well. Let's just go and have a look at the bends there. It's surprising. So there we are, look. It's actually split the steel, bent it in and split it. That's a lot of force. Anyway, that's obviously got to be cut off. At there and there. And that gin pole would be too short, I think, by just cutting it off there. So we're going to have to extend it a bit. So this is what I've come up with. So I've got a piece of 4x2 box section. I've got two pieces of this. And if I cut a notch out there, like that, then that can go like that. So it can go round. So we don't want just a simple butt joint. We can do a half lap and then cover the top in, and that will make a very strong transition between the 2x2 to the 4x2, and that will make the gin pole about another 2 foot longer. So in the early, I can't remember if it was the last video or the one before, I said I thought the gin pole was a bit tall. Well, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but it's going to be shorter now. So I've got two pieces of this. I'm just going to cut those out and offer them up and clamp them up and see what happens. Well, after considerable fettling, we've got that, and they're all in line. So we'll just make sure before we weld it all up. I had to do a little bit of fettling there to go over that weld, and then once I've got those in position, I can then offer something across the ends, mark it out, cut the ends, and then create a foot. So there's the gin pole finished. 9'6" it is now, and I've bolted this bit of box section to the inside of the bucket there and back there as an extension, because it wouldn't lift, tractor wouldn't lift high enough. So hopefully this will lift that reasonably level, and we need to plonk it up there. So let's just set the camera back and just see what happens. And there's a robin. Right, that end wants to come over now. Right, let's go and move that other end. That'll do, hopefully. So I'm just going to tie those ends to the tower, and I'm going to have them 6 to 8 inches on the bottom side of the pivot, so any pressure downwards is on the side that wants to go down anyway. So that's raised the gin pole up, and now all we need to do is get a strop round that, which I can do quite easily, and a cable and down to a small turfer, and we'll just winch it upright with a bit of messing around. So I've got a strop round that little ash tree, and I've joined the strops with a toggle. You never knot a strop together, you always put a toggle in there, which is basically that loop goes round, this loop goes round the toggle. That way it'll never knot together. If you knot them up, you'll never get them undone. So we've got this strop going to a winch, a small turfer, that's a 800 kilo turfer winch. And we're going to raise the gin pole to the point where I can remove it from the tractor jib. I think that's enough. I'll just go and undo that. So it's raising up, and I've got a line from the top, the blue rope, round the tower and back as a stop line. I'm just going to release that a little bit, doesn't need to be much, maybe 6 inches, and then we're in the right place. Perhaps a bit more. I'm just going to put some more on the winch. I think I need to relax it a bit more. Let's have a look. It's not quite at 90 degrees yet. So it's another day and the gin pole's in place with a couple of bits of rope as Guy is at the moment, and it's bolted in place either side, so it's fairly rigid, but now we need to put the stay, and I've put some lugs up there, and this is 9'6" to the top of that wheel, so I'm guessing that it'll be 8'6" between there and the bottom of the pole. So we need to make a rough estimate as to how long this stay needs to be. Well, it could do with being at 45 degrees. So if you use the theory of right angled triangles as an approximate, let's say from the base to that bracket is 8 foot, just to make it easy. And the square on the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares on the other two sides. So if that's 8 foot, 8 8s are 64, and we'll allow a little bit, call it 70. So we've added a bit for the extra. And if we went 70 along the tower as well, 70 plus 70 is 140, and if you find a number that when multiplied together makes 140, it comes out at 12. 12 12's 144. That's near enough. That's a good estimate. We need a piece of box section 12 foot long. There you go. So let's crack on with that. Well, that seemed to take forever. There is the clamp, and it just worked out wrong, just right in the wrong place on there, and you could have said, well, you could have shortened this, but without the brace there, trying to get the brace in place up there on the top of that ladder was, if I was to say difficult, that could be a bit of a understatement, but I got it through and it's all done now. So there we go. Tomorrow we're going to give it a go. I might just help it along in the initial stages. In the past, see that chain there? I've had a turfer between there, and there's a chain. Where's the feet? There it is. There's a chain down there, so right next to the ground between there and there I've had a winch that just helps to pull things. So we shall see. I want to be a bit gentle with it this time, especially on the first go, just to see how it feels. Noakes Walker had a theory that the angle of the cable there between the pulling cable off to that Norway spruce and this cable here down to the tower was different. In fact, this one is steeper, so that's why there was sidewards pressure. Nice theory? Yeah, it's probably true. So, but the problem here is I'll either have to make another bracket, or where's the cable? Let me see if I can find it. There's the cable. As you see, it goes through various bits of lattice. So trying to take it further up the tower would be quite difficult, because the lattice gets closer and closer together. Might have to get a piece of chain, but then of course the second problem is that when the tower is up, you've got to climb up there and undo everything. But maybe a piece of chain wrapped round one of those brackets there, because the brackets are opposite each other. We could just see whether we can get a chain to lock in round that, but we shall see. Give it a go, see what happens.